Welcome back on the AM show. You see the big smile on my face because I get to interview. I'll not grow hair like tilapia. I get to interview a friend. So the National Commission for Civic Education has begun an inter-party initiative, and we're going to be delving into that, an inter-party dialogue committees nationwide. The committees are to identify early warning signals, serve as mediators among political parties on disagreements that have the potential of escalating into violence. But can this strategy be the antidote for the peace required going into election 2024? We're going to have an interaction on those issues together with other initiatives of the National Commission for Civic Education. Joining us, the chairperson, Kathleen Addy. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wish I could stretch my hand long enough to give you
it looks like a
handshake.
COVID era.
But this one, we'll do an air handshake.
Yes.
Good to have you this morning.
Good to be here.
Let's
really
talk
nice
about.
studio, I have to say, very nice.
You can go ahead and gush. Feel free to gush over us, students. You like the feel?
Oh, it's nice, really nice. Okay. I've been coming to Joy FM for many years, and this is a great step up.
Okay. We try to meet the standards. We're trying very hard.
Nice. Okay.
But let's get right down to it. The NCCE, I mean, I remember the last time I had an interaction with you, lots of stuff to discuss. Water under the bridge. How is the NCCE faring? What have you been up to?
Okay, so as you mentioned earlier, this being the election year, it's a very busy year for us. That's not to say that other years are not busy, just more busy because this is the year that we concentrate all our voter education voter education activities. So we've started, but last week or a couple of days ago, we launched a very important initiative on Monday, a mechanism that helps to keep the peace by ensuring that issues and problems that erupt at the local level are addressed by a group of credible people working together with a common objective of ensuring that those challenges, those problems, those misunderstandings do not escalate into something that becomes a big issue for the nation to now put money in addressing. So we've been doing a lot. Our project in the North, our Peace and Security Project, preventing and containing violent extremism is still on course. We've been doing the public education. You know, last year we worked around the DLE, district level elections, and then we moved into this year with all the other activities as well. But the big thing that we did on Monday was to commence the inter-party dialogue committees that are district-based structures of the commission that are usually activated during the election cycle to ensure, like I said before, that issues are resolved very quickly at the local level so that we can have a smooth election.
So you've been up to quite a lot. Would you say the NCCE could have been doing more even as of now in an electoral year?
Well, you know,
And I say this from different angles.
Okay.
Logistics.
Oh, okay.
Support, but even also as an institution, do you feel
right
with manpower and everything, you could have been doing more as of now?
Okay. So, of course, we could have been doing more. That goes without saying. Anybody could do more. You know, Joy could be doing more. We could all be doing more, but that tends not to be my focus most of the time. I try to do the best we can under the circumstances. And this year we've been able to launch this program. It's actually started already. The committees have started meeting. The engagements are going on. In fact, at our press briefing, we showed pictures of these activities across the length and breadth of the country. Some have started, some are now starting. So we're kind of focused on doing what we have set out to do. And in terms of what we have set out to do, this is on point. This is where we are. This is what we are supposed to do at this time, and this is what we are doing. Before this, I was trying to remember, we launched Constitution Week in the Ashanti region a few weeks ago. And Constitution Week is a it's a flagship program of the Commission. And this election year, we used it as an opportunity to also do a lot of voter-related work, focusing on our broad themes for the year in terms of areas that we are highlighting, areas of challenge, areas of potential problems, areas that if we don't create awareness around could escalate into something not so great. So we have launched or we have finished the cycle of the Constitutional Week programs, and we are now into the IPDC programs. These are set pieces that we would normally do in an election year, and they are vehicles through which we continue to push public education, and also they tend to be feedback mechanisms, because in all of these things, we are holding these engagements with people, we are taking feedback, and that is further informing the programming going further into the year.
Before we get into the IPDCs, the Inter-Party Dialogue Committees, you mentioned the Constitutional Week. What would you say are the takeaways from that effort that you put in? Because a lot of the time, I say one basic thing. You could go out there and ask people some of the most basic things in terms of our 1992 Constitution. And sometimes you'd get surprising responses. What would you say has been the takeaway from that drive?
Well, Constitution Week is always great. It's a week we set aside to remind all of us Ghanaians that we've come a long way in the context of Fourth Republic and all the good things about the Fourth Republic. And also to remind ourselves that the democracy does not build itself. It's we, the people, who have to do our part to make sure that it's working. And to also remind ourselves that as a country, we've come from a dark past marked by political instability, and that we, at the start of the Fourth Republic, we committed to ensuring that we don't get to a point where overthrowing the Constitution becomes an option for us as Ghanaians, and that we continue to deepen a democratic culture. During Constitution Week, we will normally meet personnel of the armed forces. So we have military, prisons, police, and so on and so forth. We add immigration, customs, all those bodies that, you know, are in charge of peace and security in a way, protecting our peace, protecting our constitution, protecting the democracy. We hold these engagements with them. This year, our theme for this year in NCCE is Together We Can Build Ghana, so get involved. And so it's a clarion call to all Ghanaians that, look, there is a role for everybody to play in this democratic venture that we are undertaking. And we must not forget that. The role that everybody has to play is very important. It's not just one aspect of society or one category of people in Ghana who are to work to ensure that as a country we are able to make progress and attain the vision that we set out for ourselves. We all have a role to play, and we must play that role. And so our theme being this, that together we can build Ghana, so get involved, forms the framework for the other things that we are focusing on this year. 4 broad areas. 1, money in politics. 2, religious tolerance and ethnic-based campaigns, which are negative. 3, violence and intemperate language, incitement, those things, closely linked to 4, which is fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. The additional issue that we are raising is continuing to highlight what a threat Galamsey continues to present to us as a people, to our country, to our existence. It's an existential threat. It's not just a threat to the people who live in the areas. The health risks are there, very important, and I fear that we are setting ourselves up for a huge health crisis the way Galamsey is going. But beyond that, illegal mining in Galamsey is a threat to the stability of the state. We have examples in the sub-region for all of us to see. We all know what illegal mining, the role it played in escalating the conflicts in Sierra Leone and Liberia. and destabilizing the country for years. And those conflicts went on much longer than they should have, because the diamond mining element continued to fuel.
There were beneficiaries from different
yes,
angles, and some of them even externally. There were accusations of others within the sub-region and outside of the continent who were fueling this because they were benefiting from it, because which then created the talk about blood diamonds and countries now being ethical in terms of their dealings. All of that is in
but because the point is that if you don't take steps to avoid destabilizing your country, then these are the consequences. And so we have to understand that the talk around Galamsey is not just talk. It is very serious, because, you know, it may look like, well, I mean, life goes on, but the moment we cross the line into an era of instability, then other forces will come in and we will have a really major problem in our country.
And which brings me to my next bit. I ordinarily wouldn't have gone here, but since you've gone there, you know, some security analysts have said that let's not kid ourselves and think that terrorism is far away. You know, there have been terrorist acts all around, very close to us, on the Togolese end, on the Burkinabe end, on different ends, very close, sometimes in very close proximity to our borders. And some have said that some of them are even in Ghana, but the fact is we are not, as it stands now, we are not a target. We are more like, there's a word they use, some of them come here and even engage in illegal mining, get something and go. It's more like a funding source. Till the point where you cross a certain line, like you said, then you become a target. But how do you relate that? Because in today's Ghanaian publisher newspaper, ECOWAS must be decisive in dealing with terrorism in Sahel region. That's Akufo-Addo. And he says that he has urged ECOWAS heads of state to reach an agreement and establish a clear policy direction to combat terrorism in the Sahel region. But when I read this, one of the things that came to mind that I espoused, right? How about leadership in the sub-region, democratic leadership? What is degenerating into these coups d'etats that we are seeing? Sometimes you listen to the things that people are seeing. Why are people pouring on the streets in support? It shouldn't be. You get it? So you look at the technicalities that we face. People tweaking constitutions, tweaking, getting extended terms, Alassane Ouattara and all of that. You know, it hurts because some of these people, when Gbagbo was leaving and you were coming, look at how Africans, the international community, then you turn around and slap us with. So when these things are said, going back to the Constitution, yes, Constitution, yes, but are the right things being done to stave these developments? That's just my little bit.
Oh, no, it's fine. And actually, I'm happy you bring this up, because I mentioned earlier on that we are undertaking a peace and security project focusing on northern Ghana and the border areas. And it is precisely because of this. I mean, the threat that we face is not a straightforward threat. Actually, it's a very complicated situation. There are a lot of external forces involved. And there's a lot of misuse of online and internet resources. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fake news. In those areas, there's a lot of things happening that is pushing people to support people who come to destabilize countries. So it's really not just about, okay, we are not happy, but there are other forces at play. And so for us in the work that we are doing, we are in communities, in the border areas, in the northern areas, to make sure that people understand the nature of the threat that we face from the sub-region. In fact, that is the big difference in this election. I always, joke that in Ghana, every election is supposed to be the last one. People say this particular election is so bad that there's no coming back from it. That we will never recover. Everything will fall apart, right? And somehow, some way, somehow, we always come to. But this year is different, and this year is different for a number of reasons. The key one being the instability of the sub-region, because the forces that are at play, that is causing instability in other countries, we are not immune to those forces. Exactly. We are not immune to those forces.
Kenya was said to be the bastion of democracy until what happened in Kenya.
Yes, until what happened. Yes, so we are not immune from it. So we must do what we can to ensure that these things don't come into our borders. Like I said, it's not a simple issue. We have violent extremists, currently, even if you look at Burkina Faso, a good chunk of the country is kind of murky. You don't really know who's in control there, And then we have, between the violent extremists and then coups that are pushed, supported, and fueled by international geopolitics and all of that. There are a lot of forces at play. So it's really not simple at all. But for me and for NCCE, what we do is to ensure that in terms of public education, that element of the problem, we are proactive, we are ahead of the game. We started doing this education in Northern Ghana way before it became, sort of a sexy thing to do. From 2021, we recognized the threat in the fact that one of the key line of defense for us, as citizens, is to ensure that people who are closest to the threat understand the nature of the threat, understand what needs to be done. So if you take all of this together and you add Galamsey, then you realize that actually this year's election is more dangerous than previous years because Galamsey is a big threat. As you yourself said, there's already talk of all of these skirmishes happening. I must say that our armed forces have done an amazing job keeping us safe. Because while we sleep and go about our business in Accra, doing our business, they have been working on those borders, keeping the threat out, taking major risks on our behalf, So they've done amazing to keep us safe. We are out there doing the public education needed to ensure that the threat doesn't come in unexpected ways. Because sometimes it's not just men with guns. Sometimes it's people coming in as saviors, So
Is that a stray bullet at anybody?
No, that's not a stray bullet. People
coming in as saviors.
Coming in as a savior is not a new concept. People have been doing it for ages.
Within this election campaign,
no.
Some people have touted themselves as saviors. So I find it.
Well, I mean, nobody is a savior. That's the other thing we have to understand about our situation.
There's no Messiah.
There is no Messiah coming
Messiah
in this country. Do you understand? Nobody's coming. We have to accept that.
Exactly. Not Bawumia, not Mahama.
When I say nobody's coming, what I mean is that we can't cede all our power, all our agency to political leaders. We have to understand the role that all of us have to play to ensure that we move the country. That's what I mean by nobody's coming. Okay. So I always say to people, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Okay. There's no Angel Gabriel.
There's no one else coming.
No, it is us. Everybody we have elected to lead this country, to represent us, is us. Okay. It's not anybody from the planet Mars. Everything, it is us. So we need to sort of start talking about that as well.
All right, leadership. Let's. In case you just joined the conversation, this is a conversation with the chairperson of the NCCE, the National Commission on Civic Education, Kathleen Addy. Okay, so I promise after this, I'll go straight to the IPDCs.
Oh, no, if you don't, you give me more time.
I'll go straight to the IPDCs. There's also the school of thought, and I just cast my mind back into the 90s and all the things that the NCCE was doing, right? Mm-hmm. Some say the NCCE has dropped in terms of the pecking order of relevance in our national life. Mm-hmm. You are a constitutionally activated body, but some feel that NCCE, right now, it's been, and it's not technically just to say you.
Oh no, I get it. I get it.
Whether it is Madam Nkrumah or
I know
deterioration over time. Well, how do you respond to that?
Well, it's true. It is an institution that has been systematically defunded over the course of the Fourth Republic. That is a fact. Government in, government out. Some have done a bit more than others, but overall, it's not an institution that has gained the support and attention that is required. At the start of the Republic, when the Constitution was being put together, the framers had an idea. The idea was groundbreaking and it was far-sighted. The vision was really spectacular and way ahead. It was way ahead of its time because there is no other country, really, literally. I've been looking really hard, and somebody finds it, please let me know, where we have a constitutional body structured the way a civic education institution structured the way ours is. You construct that structure is common for electoral commissions, human rights commissions, media commissions, even the independence, the way it's for the reporting lines, that sort of thing. But in most places, civic education is not given that kind of
prime of place.
Yes, it's not put at that level as those other institutions. But our the framers of our Constitution saw and knew that, you know, we are embarking on this democratic journey, right? And we need the right kind of citizens to build a republic. The republic will not build itself. The democracy will not make itself. The Constitution is alive because people are living by it, you know. And so really it boils down to the people. And then so they understood that these things have to be taught. Good citizenship, which is the fundamental underpinning,
which we've been talking
of
about
any
for
effective
years.
Democracy has to be taught. Nobody is born a good citizen already waving a flag and being patriotic. It is taught. It is taught systematically. It requires consistent investment over years. And for us, even more, because we in a lot of ways, for instance, I always say that people understand rights. At the beginning of the Fourth Republic, rights education was a big thing, citizen rights, because we had come from a place where a lot of people's rights did not exist, was non-existent. People even understand the concept of it. We have a good understanding of rights now. Do we understand our obligations to the state? Do you understand our responsibilities as citizens? Do we understand the role that we are playing in the democracy beyond voting? Because the voting rights is quite well understood. But what happens between elections? As a citizen, what is your role in ensuring that we are holding the leaders that you have elected to account? How are we holding leaders accountable? You know, what are the realistic? Because there are all kinds of mechanisms already on the books that citizens should be using to ensure that we hold our elected leaders accountable. And so there are all of these things, but not to move away from the fact that this is an institution, for one reason or the other, I'm still trying to figure that out, has been systematically neglected over the years. Like I said, some days is better, some days not so great. For instance, COVID year, in the last few years, was one of the better years that we had in terms of support, because suddenly everybody remembered, right, that sometimes you need an institution that is already set up for public education. We were even given vehicles, even though some of it was taken away because it was never purchased with us in mind, right? And so
I know sometimes you work with information ministry.
Oh yes,
vehicles and all of that, and then they have to be.
Yes, so these COVID vehicles, we're given 50 of them, but they have been purchased for another state institution, and I don't think they were amused by that. But when it was, but it was loaned to us essentially. Well, and then at some point they said, well, you've done your project, we need to take the vehicles back. But we had also been, pushing and lobbying that, it's already here, we've already used them, so you should leave it. So anyway, we came to an agreement. They took 25, and we had 25, which was not bad for a year that we didn't even plan to get any vehicles at all.
Half a loaf is better than.
And we've been building on that. Last year, we bought about 50 motorbikes. But the problem is that we are coming from such a low point in terms of what is required that it's really like a drop in the market, in the bucket. The investment that we are seeing into it's a drop.
So what
in
you
the market.
need actually is consistency.
Exactly.
You also need some bulk.
Exactly. We need some bulk logistics
to come your way. That's what you need.
Yes. But more than anything, we need consistency for every government to understand that this institution needs to be given the opportunity they have to be allowed to work. And allowed to work means that they must be given the resources to work. The Constitution is clear about where we should get our resources from, but the state still gets to prioritize, in terms of...
You take your funding from where? The Consolidated Fund?
Yes.
Right.
Salaries and all of those things. And at no point have salaries been withdrawn or, because it's part of the public sector. So that's covered. It's operational funds that is always, because at that point, a government gets to decide what the priorities are. But for me, in all of these things, it's really about keep pushing and keep doing and demonstrating that even with a little, you're able to do a lot, because sometimes people forget. Politicians think in 4-year cycles. They are looking for something to deliver at the end of 4 years, something made of concrete, ideally. So they want a school, a bridge, a road. They can say that this is what we delivered. I can understand how it would be difficult to the idea that you have invested in the minds of the people, but the truth of the matter is that that's the most powerful tool.
Yeah.
If you do the investment in the mindset of the people, the return on investment is greater than any concrete structure.
It's huge ROI. And sometimes too, it's about the lack of continuity in terms of leadership, like it or not. I don't get why each time there's a change in, political administrations, everybody must go and...
That doesn't affect the independence.
I know it doesn't, but you would also feel that in some instances, if I always feel that, for example, an IGP, if the person is performing and you come, there's no need to. If some head of an SOE is not from your party, but the person is performing. But these are things that... Those are things weaknesses
in the administration of the state that should be fixed. It's not record science.
Constitutional?
Some of it is not really, some of it not really. Some of it is constitutional, some of it not really constitutional.
Right.
We need to focus. It's just that when we start talking about these things, we quickly move into the big things. I am a strong believer in small steps.
Right.
And one of the reasons why, sometimes we get stuck is that we are always looking to do the one big thing that will change everything at once. Nothing works like that. You take incremental steps, small steps. That's the way to make progress.
Right.
And that's really my
Let's now focus on the inter-party dialogue committees. What is the idea behind it?
Sure.
And how responsive have the political parties been in this drive?
Okay. So NCCE as an institution, we have a relationship with the political parties. We engage them. We do a lot of engagements with them, particularly in election years. The IPDCs have representations from all the parties in that district.
Okay.
So if the party is present in that district, they are part of the IPDCs. It has representation from traditional authority, local authority, faith-based institutions, security, very, very critical. Because in a lot of those issues that are being resolved, it requires arbitration, but it also requires that security is made aware, is part of the conversation, understands the dynamics of issues. And it also involves influential people in the community whose voices carry weight and go further than it includes CSOs that are present in there. So any kind of structure that is operational in that district is represented on the IPDCs. And so when a problem comes up, and as you know, in the elections, I think one of the most interesting challenges and problems that, is of interest to me, I find fascinating, is things like the disagreements around who puts their poster where. First of all, a lot of these posters are placed illegally anyway.
Yeah.
But then somebody places a poster, somebody sticks another one, and it is such a source of conflict, And if you don't manage that situation well in the district.
There was an interesting picture in Efutu where it's another story. It's a story for another day.
Okay.
But yes, it is a reality.
It's a reality. So the IPDCs, issues like that. Somebody is going on a march in this direction. Some other people want to go and march in that direction. It's about sitting down and say, okay, you go today, I'll go tomorrow. But arriving at that solution is not straightforward at all. And so IPDCs are set up to ensure that there is a space where everybody is represented, where heads are cool, so that we can all sit down and say, listen, this thing that we're doing, this match that we know that our people are going to clash, blood will be shed and all of that, is not worth it. You go today, we go tomorrow, we go today, resolve it. And then you kill it right there, right? So that it's not as if, okay, today there's a clash. Okay, next week you will also cross your match and clash again. And then the next district will say, oh, is this what they are doing to us? They are beating our people here. Okay, we too will beat your people there. People don't understand that sometimes conflict starts with most times, it's just a spark.
And speaking of which, you mentioned, in outdooring this idea, you spoke about the fact that it was meant to serve as a unifying body to promote peace and tolerance and all of that. Is it a bit belated, or you think you can hold for me, you think you can achieve the impact before the election? And here's why I ask. You look at today's papers. The Ghanaian publisher, Nkranza South MPP, warns NDC MP over attacks. You read the story and you find that there is the usual NDC MPP tussle. You look at even the limited voter registration exercise. You've seen the videos. People toting guns, machetes, limited voter registration exercise. And this is how people are getting. So, too little, too late. Do you feel you can achieve these goals to a large extent before election 2024.
And I share your concerns. I share your concerns very strongly about the way things have evolved. This is my one thing I want to tell all of us as Ghanaians. Really, truly, no politician, no political party is worth one drop of your blood. Not a drop. Not one drop. You know, so please, let's all sit back and take a deep breath. Nobody's worth it. Anybody who comes to you and say, here's a machete, here's a gun, you must know that they do not value your life. Because as for machete and gun, anybody can get it. So if somebody says that this is the role that you have to play in bringing me to power, you must know that the person does not have your interest at heart. Their family members are not holding guns, running around, misbehaving anyway. So just a message of peace. But let me come to the real issue, that what is the effect of all of this? I am a strong believer in dialogue. And I always say that we need to be working on things rather than saying that, oh, we can't do it. It's not possible. That's not my style at all.
You shouldn't throw in the towel.
No. And it is unrealistic to think that you're going to go through the whole election season and you will not have one or two hotspots or a couple of eruptions. That is an unrealistic expectation. What you need to do is ensure that you have a mechanism for addressing those issues when they come up. And that is not to say that all of it will be done and there will be nothing, not a squeak. There will be some, but for these interventions, it would have been so much more. So when issues come up, what we need to do is come together, find the mechanism for addressing the issue, rather than saying that at this point, there's no coming back from it. You understand? So for us, it's something that we do every election cycle. We found it very effective. Those who have served on the committees in the past can tell you how many problems have been resolved, how many issues have been addressed in their districts as a result of the IPDC structure. Right. So it is effective. You may not be able to catch everything at the same time, but it's definitely very powerful tool.
I do concur. And you look at the composition, you're talking about all registered political parties existing at the regional and district levels. Does that mean that independent candidates and all of that will not be involved?
Nobody's excluded. Nobody's excluded.
So they can join?
Yes. I mean, if it's recognized, because, people get up and it's like, overnight, I'm a political... There's a process to becoming a political party. You know that, right?
Yes, but some of these are not... It's not a party, so to speak. It's a candidate. Now, there are movements. They tell you they are not technically. That's why I'm asking. So how are you addressing this? There's the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, all of that.
Are they present in that district? Really? Do they have a structure in that district?
And that is where the problem is, because these candidates, independent and whatnot, may not necessarily have representation across the board. But I don't know how they will be handled.
Where it's relevant, we pull them in.
You rope them in.
Yes, where it's relevant, we will pull them in. Right. Where maybe in a particular district, they are very strong, they have strong representation, they are a bit disorganized, there's no real structure. We sort of get in there and try and sort things out and find everything we need to do to ensure that problems do not escalate, sparks do not become fire, we do.
All right. You also mentioned political party affiliated groups. You're talking about TAIN, TESCON, Nasara clubs, Zango caucuses, among others. Faith-based organizations.
Yes.
You're embracing everybody.
Everybody.
Then civil society, community-based organizations, independent governance institutions like SHRAJ, the EC, the NMC, the GJA, security services, traditional leaders. And then at the regional level, the National Peace Council plays a critical role in the IPDCs as well.
Yes.
I see. Let's address the twin problems, though. I'm interested in how you're looking forward to taking a look at them. Ethnicity and religion ahead of election 2024. I always say that for every election we've had, two of the problems we have.
No.
Ethnicity.
Small mistake. Small thing. Ethnicity, but not the religion.
Ethnicity and I mention religion now because
it's an issue in this cycle.
You've had to talk about it at
Then I'll
point.
tell you why.
And there has also been some of the comments, like the commentary by Alan Kwadwo-Trabate, and then some saying that no, and then the defense and all of that, don't play the religious card. From those two angles, what is your take?
So when it comes to ethnic-based campaign, it has been an element in our political culture for a long time. People always appeal to their base, what they call their base, their people and all of that. And sometimes it goes too far, you know, because at some point you're not just promoting yourself, but you're demonizing your opponent. So at that point, it's not, you know, it's not acceptable, it's not right, you know. And I'm encouraging all of us to start, you know, focusing on trying to elect people based on the right criteria, the criteria that serves us well. Not because he's my brother or my sister, not because we come from the same community or any of those things. But really, let's look at who can deliver deliver on our part of, you know, the social contract. You know, we see that taxes, we see that agency, we see that a bit of sovereignty, independence, our power to the elected authority so that they can deliver some public goods for us. And we must get the public goods that we signed up for. So you have to ask yourself, who is able to deliver the public goods? And that should be really the basis for electing whoever. That's one. Now, and so for the ethnic thing, it's something that every election year we have to go over, keep reminding people, because it's it's a very emotive issue. You know,
but if we find ourselves where we still are without that much progress, recently there's this video where there's a lady saying that, I don't know whether it was in the recent by-election in Ejiso, even if it's a stone, she says she'll vote.
Yeah, but the point is this: we've heard we hear these things all the time.
Yeah, but are we making any progress on that front?
Oh, let me tell you why we are making progress. You see, this year, nearly 1 million young people have joined the electorate, right? Those who get to elect. Those people, you know, they are from a different generation. Do not play with them. They are not playing this game. They are not playing this is my father's village. They are not playing that game. You understand? So this idea that, oh, it's a problem that is not going away, is not true. We will see, and I can't wait to see how the steps they are taking to secure their own future. Because if they go the ways of their, you know, their
it reminds me of Sam Jonah saying that his generation has failed. You know, and not just him. He said it in Ghana, and now he was saying it at Morgan University that his generation has failed. So I guess I don't know whether our generation will.
There's almost 1 million of them, coming, joining those who get to elect, and they don't have that baggage. These were people who were born in a free Ghana, right? They never saw culture of silence. They didn't know anything like one radio station for an entire country. They don't, that concept, you know, they can't even conceptualize it. Speaking to young people last week, and I said, so what can you even imagine? They said, no, they can't imagine that you are in a country where you can't just say your mind. We're like, oh, but saying your mind to, after all, if there's hardship and all you have is to say.
They have no concept of
these
that.
People were born in the 90s, right? They were born, you know, they were born at a time when, you know, so they don't have those issues. They don't have the baggage to a large extent, especially not as much as their parents, their grandparents. They don't have, because they don't have the experience. They did not live through one morning, okay, we've overthrown the government, we are now in charge. They can't even conceptualize. They don't understand culture of silence. So let's not make that big assumption that, oh, it's a problem that's not going away. Maybe it's not going away today or tomorrow, but it's certainly evolving in a particular direction. Now let me come to religion.
Sure, a lot of them may not have had a good conception of the criminal libel law either.
Oh, they don't know, you know, they don't know who was sacrificed, they don't know how people were jailed, they don't know who died in prison, they don't know any of this stuff, because also we're a country that is notoriously unable to tell its history properly, but that's another story. So on the issue of religion, truth is that religion as a big issue in the political culture is not really a thing. Up until this point, it was not really a thing. That does not mean that there were not some sparks here and there, but generally speaking, it was never been an issue that we've had to focus on in an election year. Because generally speaking in Ghana, you know, we live in peace. The religions are not a point of division. And there has been no real benefit in exploiting that, because the set pieces were always different. So this year,
it appears this election may be slightly different.
No,
and you've had cause to say that
we should
even name and shame people.
Oh, we will name and shame.
who
you know, if you
tap into that.
I mean, you can't be a political, somebody who is putting themselves out as a candidate and say that encourage people to vote on the basis of religion. It's not right.
So do you disagree then with those who may say, for example, I'm going back to Alan's example. He says he's not trying to Christianize, but he's saying we need Christ-like leaders. The principles, the dictates, the life of Jesus, well, that is his religion, but we need a leader who can exemplify those. Is that wrong?
I think that a better way of putting it is that we need an ethical leader, you know, because in all the religions, there are basic tenets, ethics that cut across. There's no religion that's out there promoting stealing. There's no religion that's out there promoting corruption.
I know some interesting things, but let's...
Okay, let's not go.
I will not mention those here.
Okay, I mean, you know, there are extremes in all cases, but generally speaking, there are no religions out there. The general things that as a society we know, values and ethics, we know these things are wrong, and we can talk about them without saying that, oh, because it's my religion, you know. You know why? Because once you characterize it on faith-based terms, you're going beyond and now appealing to a certain emotional force that can easily go overboard. You know, we know from countries where there is strong division on religious lines that it never works out for them. It never works out. Yeah. It's always like it poisons society. Yeah. I mean, when it's sunlight, don't we all go and rush for the meat? Yeah. Right?
Oh, my Muslim brothers and
don't
sisters,
people say that
they celebrate Christmas more than I do.
Don't people say that? So you people won't give us. Mary will give birth in. Mary is already pregnant. Mary will give birth in 9 months. We have lived in peace in this country. Yeah. We have lived with our people who practice a different faith in the neighborhoods. With our children play together. We go to school. So it is not a real issue, but it is only now becoming. Because suddenly there's something to gain from it. There is something political. There's a political element to it. So yeah, it's becoming an issue because people feel there's something to gain from it. There's something to gain today from saying don't vote for a Christian or don't vote for a Muslim because the set pieces are different. We never had a candidate that was a Muslim. So what was the point in?
So in the IPDCs and others, these are going to be core areas of discussion, right?
These are core areas. I'm saying as a commission, this particular issue is a big thing for us this year because we don't want it to become another element of contention.
We already have too many problems.
We have too many problems in an election year already. We don't now need some additional ones. We now have to go and do all the research and find out. Let this rest. And you know, there is consensus across board. All the major religions agree. You know, I'm sure they have their points of disagreement, but on this, they all agree. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody's interested in it. And everybody is prepared to crush.
And that's a good first step. As we wind down on the conversation, though, I'd like to find out how successful, how effective and efficient your collaborations have been with other state institutions. And in an electoral year, one of those that will definitely come up, the Electoral Commission. What has it been like engaging them on the way of education? Some have criticized the EC that not much has been done in terms of even their own advertisements and others to sensitize people, even ahead of something like what we are having now, the limited voter registration exercise. In terms of disseminating information, it's been here and there, but they've also done well. For example, when the Ejiso thing happened, quickly put out 2 of our staff, this and that, we've removed them, this was the person involved there. But you look at sometimes to the errors, tabulation across, I'm sure you've heard of some of those. Yes. And some people say, we need to sanitize this. Already, there are problems. You don't need these things fueling the problems. How are you going to collaborate with the EC to address such issues?
And the very important thing about institutions is that once you give reason for people to mistrust, then it becomes a big problem. I mean, trust is the basis for evolving civilization. Like it is only because we have decided to trust a certain system that civilization gets to evolve. If you take money, what is money? It's a concept. But we've all agreed on the value of money. So because of that, we can use money as a medium of exchange. So trust is fundamental to even civilization. So trust in institutions is key. Is key particularly in an election year, the institutions that manage elections, trust in those institutions is key. So everything must be done to ensure that that trust is not broken. And when it's broken, there's always active, we actively try to resolve it. We always work with the Electoral Commission in an election year. We collaborate on different things. We tend to, our public education is more broad. EC public education is really focused on the elections. Our public education is broader. It goes beyond the mechanics of voting to why you should vote. So for some of the things we are talking about, you know, don't vote because of religion. Don't vote because of money. Don't let somebody come and give you a chunk of cash and sell your vote. These are the repercussions. This is what it means for you as a person. This is what it means for us as a society. What is it doing to our sense of patriotism, to our sense of purpose, to how we see ourselves? There's a lot. So our public education is based on, you know, why, not just the how, but the why you elect who you elect. But there are areas of collaboration because the EC is the one that sets out, for instance, the election calendar. If we don't work with the EC, what will be the basis for telling people that on such and such a date, go out there, join the queue? The EC is the one that says that this is the way to vote. This is the mechanism for voting. So we have to collaborate to be able to make sure that our messaging is aligned. And so that gets done, you know. So it's not
Interestingly, the EC's office used to be pretty close to where your office is.
Yes,
now.
yes.
Now there's been a bit
of they've been elevated.
Elongation. So maybe
the
distance has been.
I don't know. It's not that far.
It's not that far.
It's not that far. Yes. Okay. So there's really no issue there. And there's an inbuilt mechanism for that to happen because it's the first time we're having an election. You understand?
But on the EC front, do you feel some of what people have called sloppiness here and there? It would facilitate your work and your collaboration if some of those could be avoided? Of
course. Yeah. That goes without saying.
Right.
That goes without saying. The fewer mistakes we make, the better.
All right.
Right? Because of the trust issue that I spoke about. And I think that on their side, let's say, they try, you know, when the mistake comes through, the fact that they admit, they say, look, this was not, it's a step in the right direction. But as much as possible, we must avoid those sorts of things so that we can build the required trust. You know, election, a good chunk of it is a certain kind of trust that is not tangible. People must believe that the institution is doing what it says, or the institutions. Because it's not just the EC.
You must not just do what is right, you must be seen to be doing what is right.
There's a whole security architecture around the election. There's a whole public education element to the election. People must see that the institutions are all working and that there's trust. So that when they go and cast their ballot, they don't have anxiety. They don't feel that they have to do this and open their eyes and stand there, that they can go home and sleep. You know, and that they can come back and be part of the counting, that they don't need to come and stand close to the table, that they can stand back and trust the process.
That maybe they will not be asking for serial numbers. You know, the BVR and BVD thing.
You know, yes. So people must have that trust. It's very critical to the success because if we don't work to build the trust, even if we execute a flawless election where there is no trust, you will still have problems.
Right. Mm-hmm. Final words, and in delivering your final words as well, do you have a call to your appointor, Mr. President? Do you have any calls to him this morning? I'm not saying anything.
Apart from,
do you have a
apart
call?
From what? As in give us more money, sort of.
I don't know. I don't know. I've not said anything. This is, you know at the Jubilee House, they watch.
Oh, they do. My primary audience is the citizens. But what I have to say is that if you look at the functions of the NCCE, there's an element there, there's a line that says that we must collect information for government. Like we must go out there and find out, you know, the things that are causing inequality. For instance, we must be able to pick up that information and put it together for the state. And so, you know, there's that. And so, we do our work. But like I said, when it comes to elections, we must all play our roles. Government has a role to play. Government must ensure that the institutions that need to work for successful election are properly funded, that what is required is given, that government does not interfere with the institutions that need to ensure that there's a level playing field for everybody. That's their role, they have to do that. The institutions must work diligently, put in extra effort to ensure that trust is not broken, right? That's their role. And then the citizens must do what they need to do. First, you please go out there and register to vote. It is your civic duty. It is, we take it for granted, but it's something that is a gift that our forefathers gifted us, that we get to elect who gets to lead us. And this time around, let us not use a faulty criteria for, let's try and change the criteria. Let it not be about who is giving money. Let it not be about who is saying that vote for me on the basis of religion here and there. Let it not be about this, we come from the same hometown, so we should vote for each other. Or we should look out for each other, therefore vote for me. Let's really look at the issues and then assess people on who can deliver, the public goods that is our right, based on the social contract reforms, the basis of the democracy that we're practicing. So please, this is my message. Please participate fully. Participate fully in the politics. Participate in the campaigns. Ask questions. Put people, let us know what they can do for us. And ask them how they intend to do it. And then say that, look, this time around, and this is what I say that apparently is controversial, this time around, it's not about the money that you give us. This time around, we are going to hold you accountable for the things that you say you would do. In the next election cycle, we will be assessing you based on those things. So maybe we should also do things a little differently, right, and focus a bit more on the why we are electing who we are electing, right, rather than just on the basis of the existing set pieces. Let's change the game a bit this time around.
Thank you so much, Kathleen Addy, for coming. It's always invigorating having these conversations with you. On the AM show, we still have AM business to come, and then we're going to be talking about that initiative of the Vice President's Dr. Bawumia and his aid to head porters. I see there's something else you want to share.
Yes, I want to thank Joy FM. I really want to thank Joy FM. A consistent...
Joy News.
Okay, Joy News. I mean, the Joy family.
The Joy
put it that way, right? A consistent partner over the years.
Right.
Because of our funding challenges, we are not always able to come and pay what needs to be paid for airtime, prime time like this. And so I want to thank you and the management and the ownership of shareholders of Joy FM for, understanding your civic duty and creating these spaces for us to come and do our work. Just hoping for more, hoping that we do it on a more consistent basis and that we are able to work together. I had a message for media as well at our briefing, that this time round, do not allow your platforms to be used to promote fake news, incendiary language, incitement, and all of those other things. Without you, we can't do our work. So a lot of appreciation and thanks to the Joy family. Thank you.
Thank you too. We'll do our bit. You do yours, and then Ghana will be a better place. Now, I was talking about that shelter for head porters to provide them with skills training for a more meaningful life. To what extent can this promise be fulfilled, this fulfilled promise actually by the Vice President, work to change the lives of these females, popularly known as Kayaye? We'll be interrogating that policy, getting into the meat of it and what it means for some of the less fortunate in our society. That conversation still to come on the AM show. Do stay.